Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Spiritual Beret. I'm Farawea, quantum bridge connector, conscious life coach, all things galactic and quantum, while also being incredibly rooted and grounded in this now moment and walking through this physical plane. I'm here with the most amazing, beautiful Amy Syker, long-term client and friend of mine who I have been working with for many years. An incredible woman, incredible story, incredibly connected, my witchy sister of light. We have started this channel and we want to bring to the world solution-based solution-based options of how we walk through the Stargate Ascension journey. We want to bring realness, we want to bring authenticity, we want to bring laughs, and we want to keep it super real because we saw that there was a real gap in the spiritual world around bypassing. And so the whole intention of being here is for us to bring bridge the two worlds that we're speaking about, the quantum world and the physical third dimensional realm. So welcome, Amy. Please share a little bit about yourself. I'm so stoked to be doing this with you.
Thanks, Farah. I guess with Farah, being so gifted, my purpose on this channel is to more so be the grounded voice behind Spiritual Beret. I hope that I can bring some clarity, relatability, real life perspective really to the conversations, some awareness, growth. There's personal evolution that we've both discussed, I suppose, over the years, which we hope to share with you. I have a background in child protection. Motherhood obviously is my main theme. That's what keeps me mostly busy day to day. And I've navigated some really complex life experiences. So I understand what it means to hold responsibility while going through internal changes. My role here on the podcast is not really to tell people what to believe, it's to ask the questions and challenge what, or help with the challenging with what doesn't make sense, bring everyday conversations back to everyday life. I represent the space between awareness and action I just fucked that up.
Okay, keep going. This is what it's about. It's about real. It's about real. Let's not edit that out. Talk it up all you like. This is going to be a laugh. Let's go. It's all good.
So yeah, we want to challenge what doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
and bring conversations back to everyday life. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's what we've been talking about over the last month is like, it's just beautiful to go on this spiritual journey and have this awakening and to like become aware of this non-physical realm and working with light and light language and rays and meditation. But like, you still got to change a dirty diaper, you still got to take the trash out. Like shit happens in life.
Exactly.
And so I think the biggest thing that triggered this for us was this bypassing, which is not the reality. Like our physical bodies still have to go through the ascension. We're taking our physical bodies with us. The physical body doesn't disappear, right? Which means that we have to
Yeah.
be rooted and grounded and anchored into this 3D reality. And
Yeah.
there's a
Full
lot of
path.
bypassing of that, right, in the spiritual world.
Yeah, love and light being the most famous expression I think that's always used.
Totally, totally. Look, unicorn it away, and I see that sometimes when I have clients that want to come and work with me, and I'm like, don't forget to do the boots on the ground protocols. Like if you're sick, there are protocols of stuff you got to put in your body, physical element. It has to be coupled. It has to be. Spirit always talks to me about merging and collapsing, bridging the physical and the non-physical. So with that beautiful introduction, I love it because it's so us. Just like drop a little fuck bomb in there. Amy, tell me, maybe you want to share a little bit about, and as we move through our episodes in the podcast, I think we'll obviously share some of our stories, and we won't give it all away in one go, but maybe you want to share a little bit about your story, and then I can share a little bit about mine too.
Yeah, for sure. I grew up in a small town, on a farm. I was very young when I got married, only 22, had my first son when I was 23. I went on to have two more boys before the age of 30, moved from small town Bathurst to Sydney, and that's when the marriage basically collapsed. and all that comes with that, I suppose, is what I experienced in that moment. I was left to raise three boys predominantly on my own. I did have support from family, but for the most part, that was my, the responsibility was on me. There was a lot of financial struggles. I think looking back now, definitely a lot of um, mental struggles as well through all of that, trying to be everyone and everything and trying to get it all perfect. And I think that's probably where the real opening for me came from. What more is out there? What more can I be doing? How, like, it was really an opening up for me that moment. There was a lot of rock bottom moments, I would have to say, as well. But it was about, like, that's where the healing journey began. How can I be the best version, the best influence, the best guide for these three little boys? How can I change patterns too of behavior? Or not so much change, but how can I be influential in providing the right space for them to flourish without a lot of the things that didn't serve me at the time in my relationship. That was definitely a big part of my journey. COVID hit. We all went through that. I was homeschooling the boys. I was working in child protection. Some really big responsibilities. Fast forward to June 2022, and I met my amazing man.
Amazing.
It, yeah, it was definitely love at first sight, I would say. But as Farah knows, the journey wasn't as simple as we met and things flourished, and it was a perfect relationship. There was a bit of ebbing and flowing on my behalf, bit of push pull, and I think that was just a lot of stuff that probably I hadn't properly navigated, or I hadn't quite healed from, or realistically I hadn't met someone and been given the opportunity to work through that the way that I did. And then fast forward again, 2025, June, we had our beautiful little girl. And then December, we got married. So we eloped. It was just us and the kids. And it was just a really beautiful, I guess, sort of, bringing that all together, that whole journey. And here we are now.
Yeah, I mean, I've done work with both you and your man, and I'll just say that I definitely think there's a twin flame component to or there is a twin flame element to your relationship. And I think it's also going to be one of the things we're going to be talking about is relationships, because relationships are such a big theme and they're such great teachers. But just to say that you guys really are an incredible, amazing couple. I mean, between you, four children, and what you guys have walked through, and how healing it is for the planet when people come together, well, relationships come together that are so soul aligned, and how healing that is for our own journey. Like we were saying earlier, sometimes we think we have to go to healers to heal things, which does help, but there are so many ways in which we heal, and some of them are just through the relationships that we welcome in, because they push a lot of buttons, they bring up a lot of insecurities, and you are either forced to rise and look at self and to do the shadow work, or you run, right? So what you and your
Yeah.
man have accomplished together is insane, and we'll definitely have him on the podcast for sure. So I love your guys' story. It gave me hope with my shit show of a story. Gives me hope. So I'll just share a little bit about my story. I thought I met my twin flame in 2016, 17, around there. A man overseas. That's when my spiritual awakening happened. I started literally being able to feel energies 12,000 miles away here in little old South Africa, Cape Town. And yeah, it was really hard. I had an emotional affair, and had to tell my husband. At the time I was married with my daughter, who's now 14, and so started the process of the unraveling for me, which is because my heart is so humanity based. I'm double Aquarian. um, I've always been a bridge builder. So to inflict pain for someone else for something that was for me was completely against what I'd always done in life, and also obviously the judgment that came with it, um, was incredibly painful and hard. Anyway, ex-husband and I managed to navigate the divorce. Fast forward to now, He's actually getting married today, and I'm very, very good friends with him and his wife, and yeah, absolutely adore them. And so got divorced, was doing long distance with the guy overseas who, beautiful soul. And then COVID hit, lost my business with him, and he got sick, and our relationship couldn't sustain. So lost everything, single mom, and then met the father of my son, and this little soul, my little boy that I have now, who's 3, was persistent in coming through. Is the craziest thing I've ever experienced because I was sitting in a position where I hadn't been able to pay my rent for months. I was going to lose my car, and now I've got to bring in a baby. I don't have medical aid. And this is where Spirit really like doubled down the training around what I teach around, especially around how we create our reality and being anchored in the now moment. So every day in my pregnancy, I just said, I have everything I need now. This baby can come wherever it wants. And I really faced my deep fears and continue to do so. And it's given me such a strong basis for how I live my life, which is quite miraculous, I would say, considering I'm now a single mom to a 3-year-old and a 14-year-old. And yeah, there's a lot more to that story, and we will unpack our stories as we go and as we share with our beautiful audience. But I think for you and I, what's so cool is like we've really lived, we've really lived. And I see a lot of star seeds, way shows, beautiful awakened souls who have, from one perspective, chosen really bloody hard experiences, which are helping us with our evolution. But we can see it, we can
Yeah.
see and hold multiple perspectives, which is like we chose it, yes, we accept it, but it's also there's a lot of painful integration and compassion that's needed, because these experiences are not easy. So that's my
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So, yeah, okay. So, I think for this beautiful episode, we just want to, share of ourselves and what our intentions are. And Amy, you were chatting a little bit about the intentions of bringing a grounded, balanced, solution-based um, podcast to people who are looking for maybe some fun, some guidance, some more sort of authentic expression in the spiritual world. So, I think for our first podcast, just introducing ourselves, that's great. What are we thinking about sharing going forward and where we want to go with the information that we're going to be speaking about?
Well, I guess with what we've shared, there's still a lot more sitting in the story, or stories that, the more that, we share, maybe just having people listen to that, being able to relate to that potentially, or, even if someone's at the beginning of that journey of whether it is they're considering leaving a marriage, a partnership, whatever it is, maybe just hearing our story and how we've navigated it and, sort of coming out the other side,
Yeah,
maybe that's enough in itself in terms
totally.
of solution. Maybe there's hope. There's hope in the sharing of our two worlds. So definitely I think that would be very helpful. And I guess too the fact that we're just showing up so often and also authentically. Nothing's really off limits, which a lot
Totally.
of people, as you say, there's a lot of fluff, there's a lot of,
Yeah.
yeah, we're here sort of skeletons and all. So yeah, I think that in itself, it's brave, definitely. I've definitely questioned how much I want to share, that's for sure. But yeah, I think, if I can help anyone, if it's only one person even, then, we've
Yeah.
done something great. So yeah, I think that the more that we conversate too, obviously every scenario, everyone's story, everyone's going to probably require a different solution. But, the more that we talk, the more that we share,
Yeah.
maybe we'll find the answers as we go as well. Yeah.
Well, I find from like our work that we've done together, which is super powerful. I mean, you're incredibly powerful. I find that our conversations, like this is why we're doing this, are incredibly activating for both of us. And I think to bring that activation to others. So I just wanted to mention, obviously, it's the solstice today. Like, this is a big day. And we also like really stepping into that fire horse energy into 2026. This is actually the astrological new year. And so it's so funny because we planned to do this like a couple of days ago and some things didn't align. And then it's just always divine timing, bang on. So I'll chat a little bit about the energetics of today. I'm actually doing I'm going in-person retreat thing later today with a group. But also one of the things you said was hope. And I really think that you and I, like I know this deeply, we like embody hope because our stories are that
Yeah.
wild. Like they were that hard. I often think if I had to write a book, people would be like, why is she not in a mental institution? Who like my sister said to me, she was like, "Farah, your trauma gives me trauma. Like your trauma gives me trauma." I was like, dude, come on. I'm a happy person. So I do really believe that like that was such a beautiful thing to say because hope is so important and to know like you are not the sum of your stories, and no matter what you go through, there is so much light at the end of the tunnel. And it's just really around perspective. And that's the thing I'm super passionate about, which is helping people when I work with them, like get into the higher state of perspective. We're not going to bypass the fact that you have to do your shadow work, that negative
Mm.
emotion exists within your body. I talk about it a lot. If you are not doing the shadow work, this is where a lot of illness comes from. This is where it sits in the body on a cellular level, and we'll get into all of that in other sessions. But quantum consciousness is holding two opposing truths simultaneously, three opposing truths simultaneously, etc., etc. So, um, I love that message for today, the bringers of hope. I think we should probably tag that underneath. Hope
I love
embodied,
that. I think one of the
embodied
things
hope.
that
Carry on, sorry.
yeah, for sure. Sorry, Farah. I think one of the things that really helped me with working with you was a lot of the time, we did tell our stories today, and I guess we've all got one, so we can't deny that. But you always said we don't attach to the stories. And I think that was a really quick way for me to elevate above that victim mentality that we do feel. Because, you talk about it and you go, wow, how did I survive that really? But I think looking back now, it feels like it was somewhat easy in a way. And I think the more that you don't attach to that story, the more that you don't stay in that sort of victim, this is that thing that happened to me, circular sort of energy, it does become a lot easier to navigate. And I think
Yeah.
too, like when you understand we chose this, yeah, and you look at the bigger purpose behind that, it quickly does keep you in that sort of higher frequency, which obviously keeps you in that forward trajectory as well. So yeah, I think that was really one of the main things that I loved when we started our work together. It's very
Yeah, it's
helpful.
it's my biggest thing. I'm like, you can't be in victim energy. Like it's going to be the quickest thing to just completely deplete you, deplete your creational process, like how we create, what we create. But it's hard because some people are victims of abuses and terrible things. So
Yeah,
really the trick is being able to hold simultaneously, right? So to have this compassion, this grace, this to I was thinking in the shower today, I was like to keep an open heart while observing the darkness of this planet and the pain and the suffering and the trauma. And to keep an open heart while still witnessing that is like alchemy. It's insane. And
yeah,
not everybody can do it. And we'll talk about that also, like the soul choice points and the bifurcation that's happening on our planet. But I say to people like if you want someone to tell you what a victim you are, don't ever call me. Like it's not, that's the most unloving thing I can do for
yeah,
somebody. But I can hold a lot of
yeah,
compassion. But I also know that these things that we go through from another perspective are also like our greatest gifts. And it
yeah,
really is about
absolutely.
understanding, and not everyone can hold this level of consciousness, but understanding that on some level you've chosen to have these experiences. And that's where I think the key tick over comes in, around moving out of that victim, moving out of the um, why me. I also think another amazing topic for us to touch on in another episode is like, I think there's a lot of spiritual exhaustion happening. A lot of people woke up in 2020 around the whole COVID thing and we're expecting by 2026 the world to be like new Earth, big flash, and there's
Yeah.
a level
Yeah.
of patience and sort of temperance and yeah, that we need to carry as we moving through this period of time, and we
Yeah.
really are creating new Earth from within. We can talk about the
Yeah.
aliens, we can talk about all of the stuff. I mean, there's nowhere we can't go in the conversation,
Yeah.
but just the basic steps is like we carry in our DNA, we carry the codes, we carry the frequency, we are seeding this unity consciousness, this new earth. So I think it's exciting. I think there's a lot to unpack and talk about. And just to share, I'd love to get your point of view on what you're picking up because you are very attuned. So, what are you picking up with the energetics of today for the solstice?
Fast. The time, like everything feels fast for me, very sped up. I wake up before I know what I'm going back to bed. So
Time.
that's probably the thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's probably the
Yeah.
main thing for me. Yeah, I'd have to say that would be the main theme
Yeah,
for me.
it's pretty bang on.
Today.
I mean, Mercury goes
Yeah,
direct today or yesterday. Obviously, we're moving into Aries, which is very quick. Um, and so it's another great, we're going to take some notes here. Another great topic of conversation is time and how we're moving beyond time, right? So
yeah,
that's incredibly accurate for today's energetics. And yeah, for me, I have been seeing coming for a while, like Three Eye Atlas sort of opened up some kind of like, not a portal, but some sort of, what was it? Something I called a galactic pathway for new codes from deep within the galactic center to come through. So it's almost like, when we work with rays of light and we work with codes and we work with symbols and sacred geometries, um, sometimes there are certain trigger points where I see almost new colors coming through, which we haven't had access to on Earth before. So um, I think. I think people are going to be quite activated in their own personal and unique ways today. And then that activation seeds over, like, I think the next 6 months because everything's like in a cycle and a wave, right?
yeah,
So, beautiful time to just be maybe meditating a little bit or just to be in observation, even to be in nature in observation. And
yeah,
always looking at what's coming up for us internally. Like I'm such a big fan of turning the lens inwards, but I mean we do kind
yeah,
of really need some forward momentum, right? Because it's been a bit of a slow burn into 2026.
yeah. Definitely,
Yay.
definitely. Yeah, especially I suppose everyone spoke so much about the fire horse and that fast moving energy and all of that sort of thing. And I think sometimes you think you've done all this work and you're where you're at and just you click your fingers and things are meant to just very quickly shift when you hear that.
Yeah.
And as you say, sometimes it's just about sitting, going within. And you mentioned the solstice, which is very much light and shadow. Did you want to speak more about that?
No, I think we're going to keep this podcast to maybe 30 minutes with our introduction, because I think that, at the moment people are also wanting to not do such long episodes. So I think we're quite aware of that. So I think what we shared around the solstice is perfect, and I'm not sure how many people are going to get to see it on the solstice, but I think yeah, I think our first episode has just been completely cool, raw, authentic, and it was really just an introduction into us. Maybe what would be quite nice is any of our followers or listeners might want to comment below in the comment section around any questions they have for us, any topics, any direction they'd like us to go in, because I think as we've sort of shared on this episode, the sky's the limit for the stuff we can discuss, and
Yeah,
and the wisdom, because there is a wisdom between you and I that we can bring to the table.
for sure. Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yay, awesome. Well, we thank you so much for listening to us today, and we hope you loved it. And we're so excited to show up and be here for humanity and all of those who resonate with Amy and ourselves, Amy and myself. Okay, lots of love, my love.
Thank you. Mwah.
We'll be
Lots of
back.
love. Talk soon.